Well, so we are continuing with the optics, and our concept of discussion is about the reflection. So, reflection is just a normal phenomena, and reflection generally takes place from the plane surfaces or from the spherical surfaces. Basically, reflection is a phenomenon in which light falls on the plane mirror and then gets reflected in the same medium. And other thing important in reflection is there is a part, or we can say that during reflection from a plane mirror, the incident ray strikes the plane mirror, and the point where the plane mirror strikes is called the point of incidence, and we draw a normal at that point, that is a normal line, and angle between the normal and the incident ray, that is called angle of incidence. Then some light is reflected. The angle between the normal and the reflected light, that is called the angle of reflection. And according to the laws of reflection, we find geometrically that angle of incidence and angle of reflection are equal. That is, angle I and angle R will be equal. Then another concept is we take the spherical mirrors like concave mirror and convex mirror. The reflecting surface will be inside. That is, we find that in the spherical mirrors, we have to use the different definitions like the focus, focal length, periphery, the aperture, the center of curvature, the radius of curvature, the optical center, the pole of the mirror. These are the facts we have to discuss. Now we come to the main concept of reflection. It is a phenomena in which the light strikes the plane mirror and gets reflected back in the same medium. And the point where a normal is drawn is called the point of incidence, and the line drawn is called the normal line. So these are all indicated during the reflection. So first we come towards the definition. When light ray strikes the surface separating two media, a part of it gets reflected, that is, returns back in the initial medium. It is known as reflection. Now, there are certain important terms related to reflection. Like, first of all, we are going to define a ray. That is the line or the light striking the mirror or the reflecting surface, that is called a ray of light. A ray of light is a straight line path of transfer of light energy. It is represented by a straight line with an arrow heading indicating the direction of propagation. So if the ray is proceeding towards the reflecting surface, it means it is incident, and after striking, if it goes back into the same medium, that is called reflected. So ray is indicated just by a straight line and an arrow. The direction of arrow means the light is moving in that direction. Then comes the mirror. It is a highly polished, smooth surface from which most of the incident light gets reflected. It is represented by a line with hatches in the reverse side of the smooth surface. So it is shown here, the shaded region, that is silvered, and the arrow is indicated on the ray it is striking the surface. Then comes the object. Object is normally represented by a point. However, it can also be indicated by a line with an upward arrow. Point from which incident ray actually diverge is called the real object, or a point at which the incident rays appear to converge that is called virtual object. Object is defined on the basis of incident ray. So it is a relative definition. Minimum 2 rays are required to show the position of object. So it is shown in the figure in the left side. An object is indicated. The shaded region is called the silvered portion. From a point, 2 incident rays are moving towards the plane surface. When they fall on the plane surface, they are reflected. So their direction of propagation changes. The another figure that is towards the right side, we find again that incident rays are indicated moving towards the plane surface, and from there they get reflected in the same medium. If we extend the incident lights backward, the point where they meet, that is called the virtual object. Now we can come towards the image. Like in case of eye, we have discussed that light falls on the object, and then from object it enters the eye, that is a lens, and gets focused on a retina. So whatever energy is focused on retina, that is called the image of the object which is outside the eye. So now regarding image, we can understand like this. Point at which reflected or refracted rays actually converge is called real image. Or point from which reflected or refracted rays appear to diverge is called virtual image. Minimum 2 reflected or refracted rays are required to determine the position of image. So again, the same figure is shown as I have described earlier. Same is the explanation in this particular case. Now we come towards the laws of reflection. In the laws of reflection, we consider a plane mirror. On the plane mirror, one side is shaded and other is plane. The incident rays coming from the object, it will strike the mirror. The point is called the point of incidence. And from the point of incidence, the ray gets reflected in the same medium, and that ray is called the reflected ray. A perpendicular is drawn at a point where the incident and reflected rays are indicated, or where incident ray strikes and reflected ray is reflected. So at the point of incidence, if we draw a perpendicular, that is called the normal line. So the angle between the incident ray and the normal is called the angle of incidence, and the angle between the normal line and the reflected line, that is called the angle of reflection. The two angles are geometrically equal. That is what the law of reflection. Another law is that incident ray, the reflected ray, and the normal all meet at a point in the same plane. So the laws are classified like this. The angle of incidence is equal to the angle of reflection. The incident ray, the normal and reflected ray lie in the same plane. There is a phase change of pi radians when light wave is reflected by denser medium surface, but no phase change occurs if it is reflected by rarer medium surface. So basically, C point is concerned with refraction. In the laws of refraction, first 2 points are significant. Now in the figure, in the left side and in the right side, 2 things are given. Reflection and refraction are simultaneously explained. So in the left figure, the ray of light coming from rarer to denser medium, and at point of incidence, a part is reflected and part is refracted. The refracted ray bends towards the normal in the denser medium, and the incident ray gets reflected in the same medium. N stands for normal, and angle made by n with incident and reflected lights are same. However, when light moves from rarer to denser medium, the angle of incidence is always greater than the angle of refraction. In the second figure, that is the right side, a ray is moving from denser to rarer medium. We are finding that in the rarer medium, they are moving away from the normal. Again, the phase change of pi radians takes place. That is phase change of 180 degrees. And a part is reflected back in the same medium. And there is no phase change. So refraction and reflection are simultaneously indicated in the two figures, and the line n is representing the normal line. The point where incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal are meeting is called the point of incidence.